In the Arctic, a massive white predator prowls silently across the ice. Thousands of miles south, in forests and mountains, another giant rules the land. The polar bear and the grizzly bear, two apex predators, each perfectly evolved for their world. But when it comes to the ultimate face-off, grizzly bear versus polar bear, who would win? Let's break it down. Although they look worlds apart, these animals are actually cousins. The polar bear split from brown bears, including grizzlies, about 250,000 years ago, a blink in evolutionary time. That's why we sometimes hear of rare hybrids, nicknamed grolar bears or pizzly bears, where polar bears and grizzlies have interbred in the wild. Purely on size, the polar bear usually wins. Adult males average 900 to 1,200 pounds, with some giants over 1,500. Standing upright, they can tower at nearly 10 feet tall. The grizzly bear, while often smaller, is no pushover. Most males range from 400 to 600 pounds, but in Alaska and coastal regions, where food is plentiful, some rivals can tip the scales close to a polar bear. A Kodiak bear, technically another subspecies of brown bear, can even surpass most grizzlies in size, making grizzly versus Kodiak another hot debate. So, pound for pound, the polar bear has the advantage, but size alone doesn't guarantee victory. The polar bear is the ultimate marine hunter. Its body is streamlined, with wide paws that act like snowshoes on ice and paddles in water. A thick layer of blubber insulates it against the cold, and its long neck and narrow skull are perfect for ambushing seals. The grizzly, on the other hand, is a land-based powerhouse. Its body is stocky, its shoulders heavily muscled for digging, turning logs, and overpowering prey. Its claws are long and curved, tools for ripping into roots, tearing apart carcasses, and fighting. And then there's bite force. A polar bear's jaws crush with around 1,200 psi, easily strong enough to crack a skull. The grizzly isn't far behind, but on land, those claws can make the difference. The polar bear's diet is narrow but energy-rich. Seals provide the fat it needs, and without sea ice as a hunting platform, its survival becomes difficult. That's why the question of polar bear versus climate change is so critical. Without ice, the apex predator of the north is stranded. Grizzlies are the opposite, opportunistic omnivores. From salmon runs to berries, from elk calves to insects, almost nothing is off the menu. This adaptability is why grizzlies thrive in such varied environments, and why their population is slowly pushing northward into former polar bear territory. In a fight, mindset matters. The polar bear is a patient hunter. It stalks prey silently, conserving energy, striking only when success is near. It's calculated and efficient. The grizzly bear is a fighter. Territorial, bold, and aggressive, it doesn't hesitate to defend food or cubs. Stories of grizzly bear attacks on humans, moose, and even wolves illustrate its relentless nature. When we talk about a grizzly bear fight, it's often all or nothing. So when pitted against each other, one brings size and calculated precision, while the other brings fury and tenacity. Now the big question, who would win, polar bear or grizzly bear? On ice or in water, the polar bear is almost unbeatable. Heavier, stronger, and perfectly adapted to frozen terrain, it has every advantage. A grizzly would struggle on slippery ground, and in icy seas, it wouldn't stand a chance. But on solid ground, the balance shifts. The grizzly's claws, its stocky build, and its fierce aggression could overwhelm a polar bear unused to rugged terrain. In fact, there are reports of polar bears backing away from confrontations at whale carcasses, unwilling to risk wasting energy. So the truth? There's no clear winner. It all depends on the battlefield. As the Arctic warms, these two bears are coming into contact more often. Polar bears are forced onto land while grizzlies expand north. Sometimes they compete for food. Sometimes they avoid each other. And sometimes they mate, producing hybrids that carry traits of both. But here's the bigger picture. Both are under pressure. The polar bear is listed as vulnerable by the IUCN, its numbers shrinking with the ice. Grizzlies are more stable but face their own battles with habitat loss and human conflict. So while we may debate grizzly bear versus polar bear, the real fight is against climate change and human encroachment, threats that endanger them both. The only true winners will be those who ensure these incredible animals continue to roam the earth for generations to come. You've been watching Gaia Synth. If you enjoyed this epic showdown of nature's fiercest predators, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss our next video. Gaia Synth, nature's wildest fights.